All right. It looks like we're going here live. This is the Johnny Walker Dread Show, and I have PhD investigator with me. We're going to have some fun tonight, aren't we?
How's it going?
So, as you guys know, we're all over Rashad Richey like warts on a pig, and he hasn't done a lot lately. So, we've been a little bit quiet, but well, I should say, up until just like last week, we haven't heard much from him. But we have new news to show, and this is going to be a lot of fun. At any rate, I'm Johnny Walker Dread. I have the Johnny Walker Dread Show. I have about 1,000 videos now, and most of them cover like Kyle Rittenhouse and the Kenosha shootings. I do a lot of Rashad Richey stuff. I think I have about 100 videos on him now. I think is it 50 or 100, something like that.
Oh, that sounds
But I
like a
do,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, I do a lot of the myth of police brutality stuff. So if you're interested in that, and I also uncover a lot of dissertation baloney, and you do too as well, of a lot of scientific fraud stuff. And we're going to see some baloney tonight as well with Robin DiAngelo. That's going to come up a little bit later in the show, but Robin DiAngelo is the white fragility author, and basically it's just a cold hard racist. She's been going around and basically white people are bad, white people are evil. She'll object to that characterization, but I'm sorry, that's how I characterize it. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm actually opening this, okay? So at any rate, I'm going to have she's been caught plagiarizing, and we're going to have a show on that, and I'm going to read a part of her dissertation, like the abstract. It's pretty bad. So without further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm fake PhD investigator on Twitter or X, and yeah, I just investigate people's fake academic credentials. I I do this professionally as well, in a somewhat different capacity. But on Twitter, I'm just doing the fake degrees, and of course, Rashad Richey has come up plenty of times as a just a ruthless self promoter with no morals, and it's just he's not the only one that's doing it, but he's kind of like the worst of it. Like if you think of
Yeah.
a doctored resume that's submitted to an employer, um, that's kind of the he's the poster boy for the false claims, false and exaggerated. Just yeah, that's he does it really well. He just keeps going with it, never stops. So it doesn't stop get entertaining.
Yeah. And
So
what I find it funny about him is that he'll make this wild claim on LinkedIn, then pull it down and replace it with something else. He's crazy.
so yeah, well, let's dive into his newest claim from, well, I think it's about a week ago now,
Okay. So
right?
let's see here. I'm going to have to find it here. And you'll have to excuse me. I've been using Restream, and I had to switch over to StreamYard. And I'm going to turn off my my video for just a moment till I get this thing loaded. So I'll take
Okay.
just a second.
Yeah,
You
I'm just
can
gonna
do
summarize.
some shadow things with your
Yeah.
hands or something.
I'm going to summarize Rashad Richey. So,
Sure.
the
Yeah, yeah.
things
You
we've
got a
said
few minutes.
about him.
Take it over.
Yeah, so we've uncovered plenty of his fake degrees. He's claimed a number of fake degrees over, I think, the last 10 plus years. Fake PhDs that don't exist, or from sketchy universities, degrees he's bought outright, degrees from unaccredited universities. He's a real expert in that sort of thing. Um, and yeah, he just keeps making these claims every couple of weeks. Another claim of this or that, or this achievement or that achievement, this award or that award that he's bought or given himself. Um, so here we've got his LinkedIn account, and yeah, is that up on the stream now?
Yeah, you should be able to see it. I see it, so it should be shared now.
All right.
Um,
If you can scroll
okay.
down and click on that announcement from about a week ago.
Oh,
Oh,
there
there
it
it
is. Is
is.
that it?
Yeah. So Rashad Richey's making an announcement that he's no longer has his radio show on WAOK Atlanta. He doesn't have the he doesn't have this radio show anymore, and he's saying, due to the rules of negotiation, I was not able to talk openly about this. Now, of course, so you've got to know that Rashad Richey's audience is dumb, or he thinks they're dumb, at least, because what rules of negotiation? There's no written rules of negotiation. It's totally ridiculous. But what I find noteworthy about it, it's an excuse. He's making an excuse why that hasn't been disclosed earlier. And I think what's happening is this is a very sudden departure from WAOK. And so he's got to come up, with his conscience of guilt, he's got to come up with an excuse. And so he's saying, oh, rules of negotiation, which of course don't really exist at all. So he's got this new deal with Agents and Strategies LLC, and will syndicate his morning show across America and Canada. Wow, great! He's got a great new deal. On the face of it, he's a mover and shaker, and he's got something new going on. And in another article, he's saying that that new deal has forced him to withdraw from his WAOK show. So,
oh man, this deal is so great that he has to withdraw from WAOK. But
yeah,
all
they
of
forced him out of that, but he didn't want to.
all of you that have been following my show know that something is up.
Yeah, something is up. This isn't what it seems to be. Let's scroll down a bit further. Then he explains, I guess, how he got there, and oh yeah, he's making the claim that he's still on the air. You can still follow him, on his podcast and his nationally syndicated TV news show, Indisputable. Now, we're thinking, what's going on? Nationally syndicated? This guy's a YouTuber. His show is only on YouTube. That's the only place where his shows can be found. And so I looked into this. So I was like, well, how is he claiming this? He's always twisting the truth, and this doesn't sound like an outright lie, but let's look into it. So I googled a little bit, and what it is YouTube sells a service called YouTube TV, and of course it's national. It includes over 100 channels, YouTube channels, that you can watch live. I don't know how that's a service worthy of paying for, but the Young Turks network is part of that. And so for like $64 for the first 4 months, you can watch all these channels, and the Young Turks network is one of those networks, and Indisputable is one of the shows on that network. So even though he's just a YouTuber, technically, he's nationally available. Syndicated, I don't know. That really means you sell your show to, other
Right.
other
my first
stations.
reaction was, I don't think he understands what syndication means. But
yeah, so he's not syndicated. Means you have a show and you sell that show, or talk show or whatever you got, to all these smaller local channels. He's not doing that. You do not see Rashad Richey on any TV station at all. So it's pretty much just like I'd say it's a 90% lie. And but anyway, he's claiming this, but he's got his new show. He signs a syndication deal. Okay, so this sounds great. Moving on up, and of course on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, like any of his stories are always worthy of congratulations. So he's just reaping the congratulations, because
right.
on the nobody's reading the article. They're just like, wow, that's great.
Well,
But
I mean, if
what
they
is
read
it?
the article, that wouldn't clue them into anything.
So I of course looked into this. I'm like, well, this, what's going on here? What's really going on? So he's saying that his new deal is with what's it called? Agents and Strategies LLC, right?
Okay, it's down
And
here. Oh wait, I guess I better click on the The article. Do you want me to click on this article?
Don't give him that click.
Okay.
We don't want to read the whole thing, but I mean, we
Oh
get
yeah.
the
Okay.
gist of it.
That's
He's
fine.
great. He's got this new deal in the bag, and is with Agents and Strategies LLC, and so let's look at Agents and Strategies LLC. Do you want to pull up some of those pictures?
Sure. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to have to do my thing here, I think, again. Give me a second.
Yep, no problem.
The problem I'm
So
having is that I cannot find that part where I okay, hang on. I can't find that part where it allows me to turn off my camera.
interesting.
I see the
Okay.
mute button for the audio, but again, I haven't done StreamYard in a very long time. Okay. All right. So here is the stuff that you sent me.
Okay, let's click on the scroll a bit further down. Let's click on that Google Street View.
This one here. Okay.
Yeah. So Agents and Strategies LLC, that's their location, a warehouse on the outskirts of town. And wouldn't you know, that's the exact same warehouse where Rolling Out magazine, that's Rashad Richey is the president of. That's the location. So, hey, and immediately I'm suspicious. It's Rolling Out magazine. Well, he's the president of Rolling Out magazine. So this is him. He's doing a deal with himself. So let's look further into it. And if you go back to those images, then scroll up and click on the first picture, that one with the red circle. Yeah. So state of Georgia, the business registry. Let's see what's Agents and Strategies. Okay, it's registered to Albert Caproni, but that guy's just a registration agent. It's a lawyer who registers businesses for other people so they don't appear in the paperwork. But
just to make sure I have this right, this is the registration for what?
For Agents and Strategies.
Okay,
that's the company that Rashad Richey's just done a deal with.
Well, it's not CNN or Fox News or nothing like that. Okay.
No, it's a marketing company, and it's really run by Melinda R. Johnson. So who is Melinda
Johnson?
Yeah, Melinda Johnson. And who is Melinda Johnson? Well, let's click on some of that other stuff I sent you.
Okay, let's go back. Let's see here. What do you want me to click?
Yeah, sure, that one. So Melinda Johnson. Well, who does she work for? Oh, that's right. This is her muck rack. So these are her journalistic articles that she has written. She works for Rolling Out. She's the business strategies manager for Rolling Out.
Okay.
So she's, he's doing a deal with himself. So kind of to go back a little bit and explain what's going on here, most likely. Rolling Out magazine is no magazine at all. It's just it's a marketing agency. They take money from people who want to be in the news, become famous, or somehow have an article written about themselves. And then they pay Rolling Out, and Rolling Out then puts out an issue with their name on the cover. And the rest of the magazine is just fluff that they buy from a news agency, an aggregator. So there is no news. They don't really have news. They don't have reporters. All they do is write marketing copy.
Right.
And
so I see this on YouTube all the time, but when I come up with these advertisements, it's like, it was an EIN Press Wire or something like that, where like we're going to expand your marketing reach. And basically all it is give us articles and we'll publish them for you. So we'll give you a nationwide reach for your articles. We're not going to bother to read them ourselves, right?
Yeah, they're going to be immediately Googleable, and and you can set, you can post on LinkedIn, hey, here's my article, press release right now. And
I could see some purpose for it if you're honest about it. I mean, if you're not trying to pass your thing off as a news press release or a, like a new scientific cure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which
So,
Rashad
but
has done. But I mean, I could see using those services for some things.
so, I mean, he signed a deal. He's the president of Rolling Out. He signed a deal with this lady from Rolling Out who, you know, goes through this other company she calls Agent Strategies, which just happens to be in the exact same location as Rolling Out, and which is a warehouse that doesn't have any divisions in it. It's just one hall.
Yeah, they didn't look like the CNN tower.
Yeah.
You
So,
know,
it's totally ridiculous. So what do I think is going on? Well, I think Rashad Richey got fired from WAOK. The indication for me is it's sudden. He thinks he has to make excuses for why it's such a sudden departure. Um, Back on August 19th, WAOK still tweeted, an interview with Nina Turner from Chicago, in Rashad Richey on his morning show, and a couple of days later, well, he's out, right? So this is very sudden. This is not like, oh, the contract ends at the end of the year and I'm going to move on to do something else. They don't have a replacement for him. They just fired him outright. He's gone one day to the next. So I'm pretty sure he's been fired. And I think I know why he's been fired. And I mean, there's many good reasons because this guy's just a scammer. He'll scam anyone. But what do you think?
okay. Well, obviously, somebody saw the Johnny Walker Dread show and said, "Oh no, we can't have him doing our shows because that would be unethical." No, that's not it.
No.
That's my
uh,
dream, right? My dream, my
yeah.
fantasy.
Who knows? Maybe somebody found your show and was like, "That
Okay,
guy's a
so
fraud." No,
okay,
I
I mean
think.
the obvious thing would be the first thing that would come up with somebody found out that he's a big phony. He has no degrees. He claims PhDs that he doesn't have. He claims scientific cures that he never did, which he's, by the way, this is all true. He's basically making a fool of himself, kind of like the Terrence Howard of the Young Turks. That
Pretty
would be
much.
the first thing
Yeah.
I would think of. Now,
Yeah.
that must not be the reason.
Well, I don't know. So one reason could be his numbers were low, but then he wouldn't be gone from one day to the next, right?
Yeah.
So I think they found out how he was scamming them because Rolling Out is just a marketing agency, and then the people he was interviewing on WAOK, right? They were always just the people that had articles in Rolling Out too. So this was an appearance on the WAOK morning show was just an extension of the marketing strategy for that person that was paying Rolling Out. So I think what was happening is Rashad Richey took money from a client at Rolling Out and then said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna make you famous. We'll put articles out. I have such a huge reach, and we'll get you an interview. Oh, it's with me on WAOK, uh, right?
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
and
Yeah.
WAOK somehow maybe a new manager came around. Maybe somebody asked too many questions, or maybe Rashad got too greedy, or whatever. Uh, they found out, and they're like, "Well, he's scamming us," because that's certainly not part of the contract, right? It was the WAOK AM morning show radio, the community voice, right? So you're supposed to talk about community issues. Most likely, for Rashad Richey would have been social justice, legal justice issues, concerning racism, black people, all that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
That's probably what they bought, right? That's why they gave him that show, and then it turned out he was abusing this, and he was using that as a marketing tool so he's getting paid by WAOK, and then he's getting money again because he brings his clients on the show. That's
So,
what I think happened.
could he have said something during the Nina Turner interview that might have like
I
ticked them
didn't. I,
off?
didn't- I didn't even listen to it. I mean, he's had her on a number of times, probably like half a dozen times at least.
You might want to explain who she is.
Oh, Nina Turner is a politician from, I think, Illinois, right? Is that correct?
I think
Is
you're
it
right. Yeah.
Chicago area politician, Democrat, vocal about, I don't know, this racial justice issues. So
Oh, she's a race hustler. I mean, there's no doubt about
I
that.
don't really know the details of her, but I've looked into her and I forgot it again. But
Mhm.
that's the sort of but then, that's his theme, so he would have her on. So I don't think it was just that show. Maybe they found out in general what he was doing and how he was, taking advantage of the radio show and was probably against the contractual obligations that he had there. And so they booted him. That's definitely my take on this.
Well, it's pretty clear that he didn't leave WAOK for greener pastures,
Yeah.
because what we see here is, well, this is nothing. He had a pretty good gig, I mean, at WAOK, and all of a sudden that's gone, and in replacing of it is this murky kind of deal he's got worked out
With
um,
himself,
with himself.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes no sense, because he could have always kept his WAOK deal going and went off on this other venture. He's done it
Well,
before.
that's why he explained, oh, they forced me to quit WAOK. Of course, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that's not true. But, he's got to create a backstory for himself. So my thing is, he got fired. Okay, he was found out. He was fired. Fair enough. Now he's got to, put on a different hustle. And also, he has to explain to his listeners, hey, why is he gone? Right? He has to make up some reason that sounds like that you can congratulate him for. Um, and and so he's got, that's why he came up with this lie that I've got another deal, right? Maybe he has a deal, but it's with his coworker at Rolling Out. It's just part of the Rolling Out sort of uh, world, marketing world. So he doesn't have a better deal. In of course, Agents and Strategies LLC is not a well-known company. It's just some podunk little place in a warehouse,
Do
a
you know how
shared
old it
warehouse.
is? I mean, I didn't catch that. Do you know how long ago that company was formed? I didn't see it.
Oh yeah, in 2020, so 4 years
Oh, yeah,
ago.
okay. Yeah,
So,
brand new.
but
I see.
but it is. I mean, it's a company. Melinda Johnson has been working for Rolling Out since 2000. So
Right.
so
Okay.
she's
Do
been
you know
there.
what that company was doing before this? I mean, what was it about?
I didn't. Maybe I have no idea. I didn't look into that. I didn't see anything else. They're definitely not famous. They don't have a. They don't even have a website.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's
So
not CNN, everybody.
no,
I
it's a
mean,
shell company for the rolling. I'm assuming it's a shell company for the Rolling Out magazine. Well,
so
which is not really a magazine.
are we saying then that Rashad Richey really doesn't have any deal at all and nothing's going to come of this? Or has he actually got a show here that's just going to be pitiful?
He's gonna keep recording shows, I think, and he's saying it's gonna be syndicated across the U.S. and Canada. So that means he has to sell the show to somebody. I mean, sure, he produces a syndicated show and will put it on on some website or the other, and but nobody's buying it. Sure, it's a syndicated show, but nobody's buying it. It's just that
And the other thing
he doesn't
about it
have
is,
that many customers.
yeah, well, the other thing is that if you're going to buy a show like that, you're going to do a search. And the Johnny Walker Dread show might have a little bit to say about whether it would be worth your while to bring this person in, because we're talking about a pretty big change of money here. Um,
I mean, there are a lot of radio stations in the country, so I'm sure he will pull the wool over someone's eyes and get
yeah,
them to
that's
buy his
true.
show,
Yeah.
and
Well, he's
something is
got to get
better
out
than
of
nothing too.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, he can work Atlanta okay, but I mean, that's about as far as he could go with it, really.
Yeah. So, and also the reason why I think he was clearly fired is, he said, "Oh well, I've been nominated to be, best radio personality in Atlanta," and that was just, I think, last year, right? And suddenly he's gone. They fire him. Well, of course, it's something. But he's a scam artist. That's his habit. So of course he was um, doing some shady deals. And this is my take on that. And Oh, let's click on the article.
Well, before you go and click,
yeah,
we have Lucifer saying, please do an investigation on Vandana Shiva. Do you know who that is?
no, I have
I
no
don't think I
idea.
know who that is.
Let's look
Hey,
it up.
Lucifer, we need more information on that
Shiva.
person. Never heard of her.
Some Indian lady. I have no idea. 71 years old. Generally, I don't mess with people over 70 because, you know, they're old.
They're not your style. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do here?
But I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to be wrong with her, but yeah.
I don't think I know anything about her.
Click on that link. So there's one more thing in that new in that article. I sent you a link to on the Twitter on Twitter.
Okay, hang on. I better get a better. Okay, that's better. What do you want me to do now?
Yeah. So go back to the Twitter and click on that link that I sent you an article there, Dr. Rashad Richey, Science. Yeah, the rolling out. Exactly. So that's the article that. Oh, guess who wrote this article? Oh yeah, Melinda Johnson wrote this article.
Oh, I see. Hang on. Okay, here we go.
So Melinda Johnson wrote this article.
I mean, they don't even try to hide it.
They don't even try to hide this. Yeah. So you know. Anyway, about he did. You know, Rashad Richey did a deal with me with my other shell company. But scroll down a bit and look at he's making another claim about Dartmouth.
Oh yeah, right? I've been working on that a little bit.
So, for anyone who doesn't remember this or doesn't know, Rashad Richey claims to have a master's degree from Dartmouth University in I don't know, public health or something like that.
No, it's
it is
it's related to public health. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, public health administration, something like that.
Yeah,
very similar to that. But here in this article, he changes his mind on that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, scroll down.
Oh, what? So they found out who he was and they threw him out of the program, huh?
No, he changed. No, he's saying he's still he's enrolled. If you scroll down a bit, it'll say something like that. I forget what the exact wording is. What do we got here?
Here we go.
Oh yeah, here he's enrolled in a graduate, and he's enrolled in graduate studies at Dartmouth College. Hey, cool. Now he's just enrolled. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, he'd already completed his master's.
Yep.
Oh, didn't he? I think he didn't he claim that he completed the master's in 2022? Like at first he said it was July 2024. Then I looked a day later and it was like July 2022.
Okay, I have something to say about this.
Yeah.
He can claim all he wants. He never got into this program. He's not eligible. I went through this. I have a video on this. If anybody wants to know, I checked into the application requirements. He has nowhere near the background to get into that program. You have to be a medical professional. And he's not. I mean, even he would have a hard time lying that much. And if he got in, they're going to find out. And by the way, one of the people that are in this conversation here may have ratted him out at Dartmouth.
Well, I think he's not claiming to be in that program. I don't know. What does his LinkedIn say? I can't. I'm not logged in right now.
Oh no. Well, it says here, Dr. Richey is enrolled in graduate studies at Dartmouth College.
Yeah. What does his LinkedIn say currently?
Oh, let's see here. I don't know if he has updated it recently. I'm going to have to pull it up.
Because I mean, what he's saying in here is not saying that he's in a public health program. He's just saying he's enrolled in graduate studies, which could mean anything. Could mean, a class in adult class for algebra.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking it up now. Here, hang on, just 1 second. All he says about Dartmouth College's Master of Science, MS, HCDS. Let me see if he's. That's all he says.
So he is claiming the degree on there. Okay, so yeah.
I can show you here. There it is.
Oh yeah. So. Okay. Well, Master of Science. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, he does not have that degree, and
Well,
clearly
and
here
keep
he's
in
not even
mind,
claiming to have the degree. He's just saying he's enrolled.
but this is how Rashad works. He applies for a program. He then goes on to LinkedIn and says certificate or diploma for this program before he's even been accepted.
Yeah, I think that's
He
what
has
it is.
no prayer of getting in. Dartmouth is not going to give him a master's degree. It is only for health professionals, and you have to have been working as a professional for over a year.
Oh, 5+
And
years, I think.
oh, is it okay? Yeah, I forget.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I went through it in my video and said that even if he wanted to lie, he still couldn't get in. So he has not been accepted into Dartmouth. He's not getting a master's degree from Dartmouth. He is just simply making this crap up.
He is,
Okay.
and I think it has something to do with trying to sell his Alzheimer's cure,
And
right?
that's
That
another
kind of
thing
makes
that
sense.
maybe the viewers don't know about. But Rashad Richey has a Alzheimer's cure, or so at least he claims. You want to talk about
Rashad
that?
Richey, let's not play down his achievements. Rashad Richey has cured Alzheimer's single-handedly.
Yeah, because he's a genius.
Well, at least according to the these bogus research paper that he published for what I don't know what did it cost him $160 to publish this paper.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
International Journal of Science and Research, which
yeah.
is basically will publish anything for a fee. And I looked into it very deeply.
So yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's published this. He's claimed that he's cured Alzheimer's with a field study or whatever he called this, with with a cohort of patients, the number of which was 1.
It is quite possibly the most pathetic journal article I've read in a long time.
Yeah, but anyway, he's
but
trying
here,
to. Yeah, go ahead.
but here's a little tip, guys. If you see in the footer of a journal article a claim that the journal is peer reviewed, it's not. Okay, real journals don't do that. And so he paid them some money. He did. I don't even know if he even did the thing. I mean, I see no
It
evidence
could,
that he
it
performed it at
could
all.
all be just written up
It
and
all be
nothing ever happened.
fabricated.
Yeah.
But he's claiming a cure for Alzheimer's disease with a contraption that he supposedly patented, which he didn't. You can't find the patent anywhere. He doesn't take any pictures of the device. It's a total bogus fraud claim. And he doesn't have IRB approval from any institution to do this kind of work. These are experiments on human subjects. You can't do that.
Well,
I mean, I
what?
know.
I think we looked into this, and there was some way he could wiggle around something because he's not. Anyway, but you know what? A legitimate researcher is not going to do this without a ties to a legitimate research university, and of course that means an IRB approval.
Yeah, and he goes on. I mean, this is your usual Rashad Richey junk. Claims a Juris Doctorate from Renaissance University. He does not have that. Multiple advanced degrees. Yeah, you can read this. I would suggest about 10% of this is true.
10%. Yeah. Well, he does have 2 degrees that are legitimate. Whether he actually did the work for it or not, we don't know.
That's why. That's
prove
why
one way or another,
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's Rashad Richey update. I guess we're sort of through with that. He just visited his dad, so that's another news item. He's such a great man. He visited his
and by the way,
father.
While we have the audience online, there's another thing here, and that's the IIC, University of Technology.
We covered this, no?
I think we covered this. I think I covered this in one of my videos.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you can just briefly tell us what's going on here.
Oh yeah, that is a university in Cambodia. Wow, he's branching out, and So Rashad Richey claims to be a professor at the Paris Graduate School in France, of course, which he's never been to. And that Paris Graduate School has an agreement, just recently signed an agreement with this Cambodian university. It's a degree mill, really. There's nothing else to it. It's just a degree mill, really. Anyway, they signed an agreement with them, and I don't know, 2 weeks later, after they signed that agreement, Rashad Richey got a degree from them. Wow. So this agreement, I think, let's look into this, but I don't remember, but the agreement was signed at some point this year in May or something like that. And then Rashad Richey claimed to have gotten his degree in August 2024, back in July, by the way. So, and then that didn't make sense. I think we pointed this out. Then now he's changed it that he got his degree from there 2 years ago, at a time when he had never even heard of the existence of this university. So
I mean, you can't make this up. It's like, if I wanted to get caught, this is what I would do, right? Mm-hmm. Like, these are breadcrumbs that you put into your, like, video games. Like, if your game is too hard and you want to put in like little things in there, Easter eggs to make it easier, this is what you do. July 2022, 2 years ago, you had a PhD in physics, or neurophysics and quantum mechanics. He loves that. He loves quantum mechanics, by the way. He puts quantum in everything. Yeah, right. I mean, and keep in mind, he had a master's degree in physics, he claimed, from this Costa Rican university that he is now pulled down from LinkedIn. You tell me any reason why anybody, after claiming a master's degree on your LinkedIn, would remove it.
Anyway, it's a cornucopia of fake degrees.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is just baloney.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we've covered, the news.
All righty. So, are you suggesting that we should go over to Robin DiAngelo now?
It's an interesting case.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting case.
Do you know much about her?
I don't know anything about her. I guess she had a bestseller. That's what I heard. I, of course, didn't read it. I had no idea she even existed. It just kind of, the whole thing went by me without me ever noticing her, But
you'll know about her now. Robin DiAngelo is a person who, it's hard not to want to punch your screen after listening to her for just a few minutes. But she is the big race hustling. Okay, I'm not going to say it. I want to keep this monetized, but she goes around, sells her presentations to universities and corporations, basically to tell white people how bad they are. And if you think I'm oversimplifying it, I'm really not. At any rate, she's been telling people all the time that white people take advantage of people of color. And then we find out that she plagiarized her dissertation by ripping off people of color. And so we're going to see that now. So let me go ahead and play this.
DiAngelo is an infamous anti-racism scholar and the author of the book White Fragility. As a white woman, she is outspoken about her belief in crediting minorities, but now she's been accused of plagiarism. In an accountability statement posted on her website, DiAngelo says, quote, "Fellow white people must always cite and give credit to the work of BIPOC people who have informed your thinking." But according to a complaint filed last week at the University of Washington, where she received her PhD in multicultural education, she plagiarized many scholars, including 2 minorities. Now, according to the Washington Free Beacon, DiAngelo's doctoral thesis, Whiteness in Racial Dialogue, a Discourse Analysis, that sounds like riveting reading, it takes 2 paragraphs from Asian American professor Thomas Nakayama without correct attribution. She does not include quotation marks or in-text citations. The Free Beacon also reports that she took material from Asian American professor Stacy Lee, summarizing the work of scholar David Theo Goldberg. Joining us now to discuss is Aaron Sabarium, a writer at the Washington Free Beacon, who broke this story, got a lot of attention on social media. Thanks so much for joining us.
By the way, I'm going to read a little bit later the abstract to her dissertation and the opening quotation. It's pretty bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
why don't we figure? Why don't you read that now? I mean, I'd be interested. What we're talking
Okay.
about,
Well, there you go.
right?
Let's see here. I need to.
So this dissertation was written 20 years ago, at a time when, you wouldn't expect to be able to be caught for anything like this. Like there wasn't the technology for somebody to say, "Hey, you copied this." It would have taken somebody, with subject matter expertise, a long time to, read through all of these documents to even figure out that she's copied people verbatim.
Okay, so there's no funny business as far as the committee thing, unlike Rashad, because this
Okay.
is a major university. So we'll just go down here. The purpose of this study was to describe and analyze, and she has a misspelling in the opening sentence of her dissertation. I mean, come on. I mean, I found a misspelling in my dissertation, 300 pages, whatever, and I was like really PO'd about it, but not the opening sentence. But okay. The discourse: white pre-service teachers in a dialogue about race with people of color. And you kind of see where this is going. Let me drop this down a little bit in size. Oops, no, I didn't want that. Okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to find my cursor. There it goes. Hang on one second.
So maybe I can explain where this is coming from. I mean, the Washington Free Beacon, Christopher Rufo, those, educational activists, they have essentially, they're looking through all these, activists that advocate for, social justice rights or whatever. And they look at them and they look through their academic work and see if there's anything wrong with it. And of course they find plenty of it, because a lot of it's just made up anyway. So, and that's where this is coming from. So the Washington Free Beacon then said, hey, where there was an anonymous complaint with the university now. Of course, we know the complaint is from them, most likely, or one of their writers. And but I like that, right? Because and then one of the defenses this Robin DiAngelo is saying is, hey, this is somebody with an agenda is claiming I made stuff up. But I mean, the reason doesn't really make a difference. Either it's plagiarized or it's not.
Okay, so it begins. The purpose of this study was to describe and analyze. Analyze is misspelled.
Yeah.
The discourses used by white pre-service teachers in a dialogue about race with people of color. Okay, I used whiteness theory to frame my observations. Do you see the bias yet?
Well, white is capitalized, which is, I think that's not cool anymore.
I think she capitalizes it like you would capitalize Nazism.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Which defines whiteness. Oh, I'm sorry. Whiteness theory to frame my observations, which defines whiteness as a set of racialized relations that are historically, socially, politically, and culturally produced. Okay, I mean, that's too general, but we read on. These relations result in white domination of people of color. Whiteness is a function of racism and refers to the dimensions of racism that serve to elevate whites. I mean, look, you're supposed to approach these research projects with some semblance of objectivity.
Yeah, but
laying it out.
For the listeners, we are both coming from a hard science background. So, I mean, this is completely ridiculous to start with for both of us, right?
Well, when you begin with the premise, I should say, when you're basically, your premise is the results of your observations. She is basically coming out and saying right away, that she's completely biased
Yeah.
approach about this.
And frankly, even Rashad Richey's done a better job in his in some of his fake dissertations with coming up with a hypothesis and then proving that hypothesis. But yeah, this is putting the horse before the cart, right?
Absolutely. And it shows up throughout all of these social sciences where the objective is to prove a certain mindset, political view, and whatever you have to do to get that. Well, let's just read on. From the framework of whiteness, I observed a series of facilitated interracial dialogues. Participants were 7 white pre-service teachers and 5 students of color. So we have a sample size here of 5, essentially. That's it. Think about this. 7 teachers and 5 students formed a doctoral dissertation.
This is pretty standard, by the way, for the soft sciences.
I agree, but this is a real problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Of course, this can never be replicated, because there's no.
Yeah, because you're never going. I mean, 7 white pre-service teachers are never going to be statistically representative of any sample or population, I should say.
These are just some random people she had access to.
Yeah, they're all probably teaching at the same school. They have probably been through the same trainings. So, okay, let's move on. They participated in a series of 4 2-hour sessions, 8 hours of data collection. Insane.
Yeah.
Facilitated by an interracial team trained to lead dialogues on race. Oh, I bet. I wonder what that training was like. My analysis focused on describing the production of whiteness in this context and the ways in which white pre-service teachers discursively produced their racial positions in these conversations. A lot of words to say something very simple, right? And that is also key here. There's always this bloated language. I used discourse analysis to analyze my observations. We listened to what they were saying, right? Discourse analysis is the study of language used in social contexts and is concerned with how ideologies are communicated. Discourse analysis allows for a nuanced means forget what common sense would tell you. We're saying that it means something different. Okay, nuanced explication of the socially and historically informed discourses that are available for negotiating racial positions. I don't know what she means by that.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, but by the way, I wanted to put in there for context. I did a dissertation, in the field of science, and that was based on probably like 1,000 hours of data observation, right? Mm-hmm. Which is pretty normal, I think.
Yeah, and
she's done 8 hours, so
8 hours. Yeah. Of basically looking at transcriptions of a conversation. That is what basically formed the research base for this dissertation. My work was theoretical, but I put in 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, I get really pissed off when I see this kind of stuff. Okay, we'll move on down.
Anyway, so this is the dissertation. This is what it's about.
Yeah, let me read this introductory quote, though. This is so funny. The acknowledgments. I am a white woman. I am standing beside a black woman. We are facing a group of white people who are seated in front of us. We are in their workplace and have been hired by their employer to lead them in a dialogue about race. I have been through a dozen of these. The room is filled with tension and charged with hostility. Yeah, skepticism is probably what I would describe it as. I have just presented a definition of racism that includes the acknowledgement that whites hold social and institutional power over people of color. Okay. This is where it gets funny. A white man is pounding his fist on the table. His face is red and he is furious. As he pounds, he yells, "White people have been discriminated against for 25 years. A white person can't get a job anymore. And this didn't happen." I'm telling you, this didn't happen.
It seems pretty far out there. Yeah.
The person's supervisor is going to be in the room.
Yeah.
Or going to hear about it. I have been through a dozen of these, and you don't see this. No person is going to do this kind of behavior unless he owns the company, right? Let's see here. I look around the room and I see 40 employed people, all white. Where was this? There are no people of color in this workplace. Something is happening here. She fabricated it. Oh, and by the way, no information about
wait,
place or nothing.
One second. Go back.
Yeah.
Just go back up. So she went there with stand beside a black woman. So she went. What is the setup? Why doesn't she describe it in like a normal way? I mean,
I'm sorry.
Why doesn't she describe this in a normal, academic narrative instead of like a storyline here?
This is a pseudo intellectual kind of a writing style, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, this isn't like a novel. I mean, it's supposed to be.
I write like I talk.
Yeah.
And I polish, right? I write like I talk, and then I polish it. I don't think anybody talks like this. And that's another thing you find from these social sciences when you read their articles. You always ask, do they talk like this when they're sitting down over coffee?
Well, the thing is, I mean, if you're writing it like a novel, I don't think the expectation is that the information is necessarily true, right? I don't think this is actually. She's framing the problem with something that didn't really happen, and to convey that this is a theoretical setup, which didn't really happen, is that she's writing it in a romance novel style or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's,
okay. So let's go back to the video of the hill. Okay, let's see here. By the way, I do like the hill. This is a very progressive site. I'm not terribly fond of the lady on the left, but this typically has always been a pretty good site because they have 2 feet on the ground. Again, though, the lady on the left, I'm not a big fan.
They do both sides. The Hill does both sides, really.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me, Robbie.
So I think our viewers understand the importance, the influence of Robin DiAngelo. This is a figure who has gotten actually a lot of mockery from kind of all sides of the political spectrum, I would say, in recent years for her kind of racial obsession. The white people should be trying to exercise the demon that is racism from their bodies in almost like a quasi-religious way. But now it turns out, give us the scope of how bad it is that some of her writing on this topic was actually plagiarized from minority scholars, the very thing that she says is like a cardinal sin.
Yeah, so there have obviously been a lot of plagiarism allegations in the past year, many of them against DEI officials. And her plagiarism falls, I would say, on the more severe half of the continuum. It's not the worst that I've seen, but it's pretty bad. It's more extensive. Certainly the passages are longer than I think any of the passages at issue in, say, Claudine Gay's work. In some cases, she borrows 2-3 paragraphs in a row from other scholars without any kind of in-text attribution.
By the way, we should mention Claudine Gay is the president of Harvard, or was the president of Harvard, who got nailed for plagiarism. I thought her plagiarism was rather moderate. I didn't really, in my opinion, didn't see anything that was that severe, but clearly not okay. But he's saying that this lady, DiAngelo, her plagiarism was much worse.
I've read his article, and they're side by side comparison, and it is really bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah, I saw that too.
anybody would get fired for that.
Yeah, where he color coded everything.
Yeah,
I think they show that here. Hang on,
okay.
let's see.
Most of the people are cited in her bibliography, but that's not really a defense to plagiarism. You have to actually make clear which words are your own and which words are your sources. And she manifestly fails to do that on dozens of occasions throughout this dissertation.
So one success is that she's done what many doctoral scholars don't do, and that's have people read her thesis and her work. Can you tell us how you came to this story, Aaron?
Basically, Aaron, are you going after her? I mean, do you have what is your motive for doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, you might be one of those right wingers just trying to tear her down. Is that what that
Which
is all about?
frankly, I think exactly that's what's happening. Of course, they are targeting these, what they call DEI officials or whatever. Of course they are. Everybody knows that's what's happening, but it doesn't really matter because it's either plagiarized or it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very good defense against that. Don't plagiarize.
Yeah.
and by the way, if you're a conservative scholar, you're fair game too.
And that's the thing. I mean, what's his name? Chris Brunet on his Carl Stack blog. He said before, like, send me the fake and plagiarized doctoral theses of conservative scholars. I'll publish them, right?
Sure.
And I think I mean, if you have a complaint that this guy has an agenda, well, you're free to examine every conservative scholar's theses, right? They're out there. There's nothing stopping anybody from that.
There was a complaint. I obtained it, and then I looked at the examples, verified them myself. And look, I've obviously, the Free Beacon has been interested in DiAngelo for a while. All the way back in 2020, we did a lot of reporting on how she made her money, the lack of evidence for the kinds of training she does. One of my favorite stories that my former colleague Charles Lehman wrote was about how she actually was paid more than a Black woman for speaking at an anti-racist diversity training. She made almost twice as much as the Black speaker for just basically showing up and lecturing the audience about their racism. So, I think that the charlatanism has been a focus of ours for a while. And this was kind of just sort of the proverbial chef's kiss, as it were, in reporting against DiAngelo.
Yeah, this is, I just looked up the last time I wrote about Robin DiAngelo for Reason was in this training video of hers that surfaced in which she refers to the famous painting, The Creation of Adam, one of those famous works of Renaissance art as epitomizing white supremacy. And she actually mistakes Adam for David, the biblical figure David. So that's some really good. So that was not a plagiarized view. That was just one of her own. This is someone.
I wouldn't have made that mistake, and I'm not exactly the most the prototypical Renaissance man, but I know the difference between Adam and David.
Okay.
Who, as you point, has made a lot of money, is like the leader, maybe in the top 3 names in this field of anti-racism seminars and talks, which she's just paid insane amounts of money to give presentations in educational settings, in some corporate settings. What she charges by the minute is astronomical. Because she portrays herself as this expert on this topic. So it really does. It's not just a gotcha to say that, she misattributed her sources or didn't do that correctly or, didn't put it. Maybe that can sound trivial to people, but like you have to, journalists, scholars, everyone, we're expected to, if you're directly quoting someone, you put it in quotes and you say who it's from. You have to paraphrase. You have to be careful if you're just, taking large chunks of text from somewhere else and making sure it's done appropriately. And the previous president of Harvard University, who resigned after, Claudine Gay, after a lot of her mistakes were pointed out, I think that was absolutely fair. And this is, as you say, this is somewhat even more extensive, someone who is even more predominantly in a kind of education and scholarship role. It speaks to the intellectual bankruptcy of what she's doing.
Well, beyond that, I think it shows a lot about her attitude towards scholarship, right? I mean, my dissertation was something I was very proud of, and I poured a lot of effort into it because it was exemplary of what I had been working on for the past, 8 years.
I think she's proud of this as well. Just proud of having aggregated all this information in one place. Which is slightly different from what you're supposed to do, but.
Well, if you want to look back on your dissertation as something that is genuine, and it seems to me that she basically got her PhD for the sake of getting one. And I see that a lot with Rashad, for example, when I read his, his dissertation from Clark Atlanta. You just see, and Jill Biden, same thing. You see this effort to just try to get something pushed out so that you can get that PhD, so you can call yourself doctor. And this is what I'm getting from this. There's just no pride in one's self-work. Okay, that's my shtick.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, and I would emphasize too that the PhD credential is really central to her marketing, right? Her website is literally titled Robin DiAngelo, PhD. And it repeatedly references her academic credentials. It says that the term white fragility was coined by DiAngelo in a 2011 academic paper. In fact, it was actually coined in her dissertation, right? So her entire career basically flows from this dissertation, even though it's obviously not as well known as her best-selling books. So the complaint is, in essence, calling into question the legitimacy of the credential on which she has built her career and through which she has made millions of dollars.
I'm a victim of the American graduate school industrial complex. Everyone who's had a life free of academic writing or reading, congratulations. But if you look at this and the comparisons that you provide on the Free Beacon are quite good, because you highlight the words in red that are used by these minority scholars and then the words used by DiAngelo. It's a lot of words. It's not just that she read these authors' work and provided a summary. It's a copy paste, change a few words situation. And so as someone who's been an advocate, DiAngelo, saying if you use ideas from BIPOC scholars, cite them. And there were citations, but there is something egregious about this copy paste, change a few words approach that Robin DiAngelo seemingly took. Can you just speak to how egregious this was? I'm sure you had other examples that you didn't include in the article to keep it brief, because the few that are in there are just really shocking. How many exact phrases are the same?
By the way, if you can get the girl on the left, and I think her name is Beverly something, I forget her name, but if you can get her to trash your dissertation and you're a leftist, you've really done something wrong.
Okay, I don't know her, yeah.
Yeah, she's the hard left progressive on the show. She was on my last video that I did. I can't remember the topic, but totally unreasonable, way out there. Yeah. So if Beverly DiAngelo got her to say this is a bunch of crock,
well,
she's really done something.
At the core of it, it's not at all a partisan issue. Either you've plagiarized or you haven't. And there's some in between there as well, but that's to be analyzed. That really has nothing to do with a partisan issue. So I think she's
keep in mind though,
taking a reasonable stance here.
But if there would have only been mild plagiarism, she would have been defending DiAngelo, saying, Oh yeah, these are mild deals. They're blown out of proportion. People do this all the time. I think that she probably forgot to cite her sources. She's coming out and saying, "Wow, this is a lot."
Mm-hmm.
But is there more?
There is more, and you can you can read the complaint. The full complaint has more. I would say the ones in the article are probably the worst. But yeah, it doesn't end with the ones in the article. In some cases, she'll do this thing where she will credit the people in text, but she won't put quotation marks around the words. So she makes it seem like she's paraphrasing when in fact she's really copying the language verbatim. The other thing you'll notice about the examples we did highlight is that she often just changes one or two words. And that actually makes it worse than if she had simply copied verbatim, because if you copy it verbatim with no alterations, it might just be that you forgot to put the citation or the quotation marks. You were rushing, copy and pasting. It's plausible. When you change a couple words, though, that shows mens rea. That shows that you knew what you were doing and were actively trying to disguise it by making just a few token alterations.
That's a good point.
So that actually, I think, makes it far worse than if she had just literally copied and pasted verbatim. And the other thing you notice is that in some of the passages, she is basically just using summaries that another author used of another author. So it makes it look like she's summarizing, the primary source directly, but what she's actually doing is copying from an unacknowledged secondary source. So it looks like she's citing her work, but she's actually not, which is kind of devious. And it also presents almost a discrete kind of academic dishonesty, because what she's in essence doing is she's basically putting one scholar's words in the mouth of another without saying that that's what she's doing, right? She's making it seem like she's summarizing an author when she's actually relying on a third author's gloss of the original.
Any comments?
No, I mean, he's making very good points. I mean, they have a very strong case against her. And I think her response, do you know her response to this?
No. I don't know what her response is.
Okay, yeah, well, I don't know, but I mean,
yeah, I haven't seen it.
know,
I'm not sure she has.
It's going to be very difficult to wiggle yourself out of this.
Well, I don't know though. I mean, the guy in the middle looks kind of white. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this plagiarism thing, this scholarly, citation thing sounds like a white supremacist thing.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be the argument, is they're right wing, so they're just trying to discredit a left wing ideology based on facts. That's right. Oh well,
And who invented this whole thing about citing sources? Probably some white dude.
Oh yeah, if they go with that, I don't know. Anyway, but I mean, it's kind of funny. She'll have any excuse really, whatever seems to fly. But
it'll be fun to see it. It'll be fun to see.
She got caught red-handed, really, and I think the important part about this story really is that she actively advocated for citing sources from scholars that were people of color, as they call them, and then did the same thing. The hypocrisy of it. That's really an issue here, right? Of course, she plagiarized as well, but the hypocrisy of it makes it an even bigger story.
So all of that speaks to what is at best a pattern of real sloppiness, and at worst, I think, a pattern of kind of serial deception throughout her dissertation.
Aaron.
Okay. So that pretty well covers that. Robin DiAngelo, total fraud. No surprise, really. Anything you want to say?
Well, I don't know her as much as I've only come to know about her through this story, and it looks bad. I don't know. It seems like she was one of the earlier ideologists, right? For
Mhm.
that's dividing the country essentially.
Well, she's the one that fired up Evergreen State College in Washington. Are you familiar with that story?
Not at all. Why don't you
Oh
explain?
my! That's the one where they basically kidnapped the president, and you know, it is now. It's a little bit old. It goes back a few years. I should do another show on it. But the students basically took over the college in the name of wokeness. Essentially kidnapped the president. That barricaded himself. They barricaded him in an amphitheater.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't let him go to use the restroom or nothing. They even had it to where they were doing. They were actually stopping cars on the road out of the university to look for a professor that they wanted, because he was not on board with their wokeness ideologies.
Oh, that's nuts. What year was that?
Must have been 2010s.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm unaware.
Evergreen State College is the wildest college story I've ever seen. I would have done something on it, but it's been a while since that happened. My buddy Neil V Radio has actually interviewed the professor that they were looking for in those checkpoints. And he was a liberal. He's a progressive, but he voiced a complaint that they didn't like, and they went right after him, to the point they had the college so scared that the president told the police chief of the campus to stand down. And so no police went out to stop the checkpoints. Oh, it's crazy. So, I mean, if this interest, by the way, if this interests you, I am more than happy to go back and do the Evergreen State saga.
It looks like it's a 2017 thing.
Oh, is that 2017?
Well, that's
not that far ago.
Yeah, that's not long. Anyway, that's what I'm seeing here, but I haven't looked into it.
Oh, it is absolutely insane. But
I'll look this up. Yeah, this sounds
check
very
it out.
interesting.
And I'll ask the viewers, check out Evergreen State College, wacko, wild, whatever kind of, adjective you want to use, do a search on it. You'll see it. It's crazy.
Okay.
And I might even be able to get the professor on the show, but I don't know. Neil got him on, and his name is like not Boinko or something like that. But yeah, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Well, I'm glad I'm not in college anymore, I guess.
Oh my gosh! But at any rate, Robin DiAngelo spoke at that university, and I think I kind of blame her for stirring up a lot of this.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, that's how it's related. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No, this is interesting stuff.
Okay. Let's see here. Do we have any comments here? Just before because I'm kind of wrap it up. I think I'm getting a little bit tired. Hang on. I cannot find the cursor. There he is. Okay. The sad part is that he's probably making more money than all of us, her right now combined. That's an interesting question. He's talking about Rashad Richey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't make enough money to pay off a certain school that he promised. In case you haven't heard about it, there was a school in was it Maryland or New Hampshire or something? It was Maryland.
Baltimore.
Was it? Yeah, it was Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah.
And the treasurer for the local PTA took off with all the money. And Rashad stepped in, and he promised to make up the difference. Anything they couldn't raise, he promised that he would, out of his own pocket, pay the difference. In other words, it was basically Rashad's tots, right? Michael Scott from The Office, his Scott's tots, same thing. And of course, Rashad never came through.
Never came through. Yeah.
He never did come through. And so,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm about ready to
yeah,
wrap up here too.
I'm kind of wore out myself.
All
So
right.
thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to be probably chopping this video up into smaller segments and publishing them. And you can always watch the recorded version after the show's over. Any final comments you got?
I don't have anything. No, I think we covered Rashad in this Robin DiAngelo lady, and that's it for today.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Take care.